Is the latest SOE to be forensically examined again? The losses and dodgy deals by internal and external players is staggering. We might never know how much has been lost. Will arrests ever be made there? Popo Molefe was recently appointed as chairperson in an effort to clean up, and he joins us this evening. Good to have you with us.
Good evening, Jane.
You're a brave man. That must feel like a Sisyphean task, looking into what happened in Transnet.
I'm not sure if I'm a brave man, but what I know is that I believe in certain values, and I believe in ethical leadership, and the objectives for which we conducted our struggle for many, many years, and many sacrificed their lives for. That is what we stand for. But I want to return to your initial opening words, Jane, when you said that 54 billion was lost. It is not so. What has been said is that there was an inflation of the price from 38.6 billion to 54 billion. It's not lost. It is the price of procurement of locomotives which are necessary for the country. The question is whether we really needed 1,064. As we understand it, that is the biggest ever procurement of locomotives in the whole world. So it's something we have to deal with, but that was based on our
so clearly,
market
just putting
demand
it that
strategy.
way, there was something deeply fishy.
So there has been value delivered to an extent in respect of some of that money. If you take, for example, General Electric, it has almost delivered all the locomotives. The last time I checked, they were behind by 4 only. The others, of course, are very far behind. We will not deal with those details unless you want to extract them from me. But,
is that going to be an easy or a difficult task? I mean, okay, but that's another example of how figures were inflated, invoices, differing invoices. I mean, there's so many threads to this tale, aren't there? Where do you start? Excuse me. Where do you start? What is your remit here?
Well, Jane, remember, the starting point is to make a determination whether what has been alleged and reported in various forensic investigation is factual. I mean, we've got a number of these investigations. Say 2 of them have got figures that are close to each other in terms of the amount of the extent of inflation. The other one is, say, over 6 billion more than what the other 2 are saying. So we've got to do further work on that to make a determination. What is very clear is that, indeed, there was an inflation.
Right. So these investigations, I mean, one that came out, regiments was paid 191 million trillion, 93 million without being linked to any contract. So, I mean, it's going to be very hard, as you say, to know where to start, but probably pick what you can find that has some sort of backing, that has proof. And where do you find that proof from? Who is talking?
Well, it's many people are reluctant to talk.
That's probably why it was so successful.
But there are many more who are innocent, and we think that as we go down the line, they will begin to talk. But forensic investigators are very sophisticated and very knowledgeable people and entities. I'm sure even if some people don't want to talk, we will be able to uncover a lot. We had a similar experience at PRASA, where records were destroyed, but we were able to get deep down and found and reconstructed those records, and we were able to win a case in a court of law based on the evidence we had been able to extract.
You have made some comments about management. You said they were deliberately acting like a syndicate when trying to get them to work with the board. Do you think that's where it starts?
Part of the difficulty is that, and I said this openly, that when each one of the employees of Transnet or any company is employed, an advert is placed out there in the public domain, you apply, you are appointed on merit. And once you come into the organization, you find that there are other people in the organization discharging the mandate of the company, And as a result of you being part of that, your work becomes complementary to the work of the rest, and therefore you have to work as a team. But to the extent that anyone in the team does something wrong, there have to be those voices that stand out and speak out and say, this is wrong.
You would hope so.
What we have found is that when the board asks for information, it gets information selectively. We have to dig deep to get information. We have to ask difficult questions before we get to relatively what we think is close to the truth that we want. And it's said, and I said, it appears like people now are operating as syndicates which have a conspiracy of silence, that they would not disclose certain things.
I'm sure there's a fear element as well.
Well, there is a fear element, but there may also be that they are beneficiaries of corruption and they would not want to talk.
I mean, what is your end game here? Are we going to see people going to jail? Because I think South Africans are desperate to know that something is working, that if you do something wrong, you do get punished.
Jane, all I can say to you is that South Africa has got some of the best laws in the country, the best judiciary in the country. To the extent that there is clear abrogation of those laws, we expect that if the National Prosecuting Authority does its job, that the other law enforcement agencies do their job, they place before the court solid evidence and solid prosecution strategy, then the court will make appropriate decisions. I can't say people will go to jail because that will be determined by the outcome of the legal processes, to the extent that there might be any legal processes.
Tell us.
We as a company would focus largely on dealing with internal disciplinary hearings, and would deal with determining whether there are certain monies lost to the company which are recoverable, either from individuals or from service providers. And so we're going to be going that route. We have started already, and we're calling on all corporates, all companies in South Africa who were involved with SOEs, especially Transnet, and they are aware of certain transgressions, to work with us to fix things, to clean up the country.
And maybe you can explain to us how difficult it is. You were chair of PRASA when there was the train debacle, the trains that were sold that were too big. How did you not know that that was happening? Is it because there are so many different players? How does it work?
No, the difference is that the procurement began around the idea of modernization, both in respect of the locomotives of Transnet and PRASA, the commuter trains as well as the locomotives, was part of the broader modernization program of the National Cabinet to revamp our commuter rail transportation as well as the freight rail in South Africa, because they had not been capitalized for many, many years, and they were going obsolete. So it started there. By the time I became chairperson of PRASA, procurement had already happened. The design of these locomotives had already been done. Similarly now, when I got into Transnet, the program was far away.
Well on its way.
Well on its way. So, but then when the whistleblowers began putting on the public domain things that they believed went wrong, and we said, well, it seems like there's prima facie evidence that things are not right. Let's investigate.
Can I leave it there, pause it there for just a minute, because we've got a caller from Eastern Cape. Tumelo, go ahead.
Hello, man. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Go ahead, Tumelo.
Yes, I just want to find out. I'm very happy to hear what you are discussing together, both of you. But who gives the authority to sign those planes, those trains? those planes, those trains, who did issue the authority to sign those planes, those trains? Because now those trains, they are not working in South Africa. We are struggling to get a private.
Okay, I think we got you. Just who signs those deals? Who signed them off?
Well, you know, once the procurement process has been done, recommendations are made to various supply chain committees, adjudication committees, and finally it comes to the board. The board approves. Then the board delegate management to sign the contract, which is what happens in every business organization. But Jane, I think we must move away from the trains, locomotives of PRASA that are not working. Tonight we want to talk about Transnet, not PRASA. Otherwise, we're going to be all over the place.
That's another whole half an hour. Will Transnet survive?
Transnet survive?
Yeah.
Transnet is a solid organization. I mean, financially delivered excellent results now, which are better than the results it delivered last financial year. And I think the capital projects that it is busy with, the improvement of the port, and the harbors, point in the direction in which Transnet should deliver more revenue in the coming years. What we need to do is just to make sure that all of us collectively, management and the board, are focused on pursuing the strategic plan of the company, managing the application of the resources of the company in a manner prudent and in a manner that is in the best interest of the South African public, the taxpayer, and the poor people of our country.
Restore the faith. Dr. Popa Molefe, thank you very much. Good to have you talking to us.
Thanks. Thanks, Jay.
Race is rooted in our history, and since 1994, we've aspired to build an inclusive society, but recent racist scandals seem to be crushing those hopes. Should we talk about racism with our children? That's up next on Tonight with Jane Dunn.